Hello and welcome guys to another video. Today we have the ACC Bathurst track guide. This was requested by one of my followers, so let's jump straight into the video after the intro. So coming into the first corner, you want to have a look on the right hand side and start to brake just after the 100 meter board, just as that black barrier starts on the right hand side, as you can see there. So just a couple car lengths after the 100 meter board. You want to trail the brakes into the first corner, try and get on the throttle nice and early, as you can see, so that you can really get a good exit onto this long straight afterwards. Get close to that apex curb, don't ride it because it's a very high curb. Same on the exit, you can use quite a lot of the curb, but don't go too wide in case you touch the grass. So don't do that. Onto the straight, you want to try and keep it in fifth on the main straight here. If you keep it in fifth on this straight, you will get a little bit of extra revs going up this hill section. You want to look for the slip road on the left hand side of the track, start braking just as that starts, and then it's a big high curb on the right hand side, so you want to trail your brakes to open up the sector, getting on the throttle early, getting really close to that curbing but not touching it because it is so high, and then really get a late apex so you can open up this sector. You can use this exit curb, but don't go over the curbing and onto that bit of tarmac over it, because I find that slows you down, certainly in this car anyway, because it sort of bottoms out. Now make good use of the track on the outside here to allow you to turn in later. Quite a late apex for this left-hander to try and open up the hairpin. Get nice and close to that barrier without touching it obviously, but get nice and close to it so you can open up this hairpin. Start a brake as soon as you straighten up. Now what I like to do is coast a little bit and then accelerate at the late apex, so you're almost accelerating up the hill instead of braking to the apex and then accelerating. Find that gives you an extra tenth or two. Make good use of the track on this mountain section, so as you see there, going using all the track. On this right hander, get close to that curb. Don't ride that curb too much, because under these high speeds it really unsettles the car. Making good use of the track again, letting it drift out wide, then turning in, just really open up these corners as much as you can. Hit the apex there, same story with the curbing. You can get really close to it, but don't use too much of it because it will unsettle the curb. On the left hander here, get nice and close to that barrier using a little bit of the curb. You can take quite a bit of curbing on that left hander there. Into this left hander, we want to try and get in the middle of the track to open up the next left hander, as you can see here, so don't take too tight of a line for this left hander. Let it drift out wide, then bring it in, just a little bit of a lift off the throttle. Hit the apex here, don't take much curb on the left hand side. As you see, just get really close to it. It really unsettles the car in this section. It might depend on what car you're using, but it does unsettle the McLaren anyway. And make good use of that exit curb as well. Now I like to lift off the throttle for this left-hander just after this marshal post on the right hand side, and then that allows you to accelerate into the corner and really open it up. You can use a little bit of this left-hander curb and a late apex. Don't run over this curbing too much because it really unsettles the car in this sector, so yeah, be careful for that. Exit curbing, you can use a little bit of that, but be really careful because it's such a narrow curb that if you run onto the grass it can destroy your race, because it just completely spins out the car if you touch that grass. And there's a little bit of a crest underneath that barrier, so I like to brake about here, 2 or 3 car lengths in front of that. Trail the brakes down, coast a little bit for this left hander, clipping that apex, and then when you get to the end of the curbing on the left, brake again, get a tight line for this right hander, a late apex where you see that black barrier, because that allows you to open up this left hander, and if you get a late apex for this left hander, you can go full throttle up to the next sector. As you see here, you can go full throttle for this right hander, use a little bit of the curbing, careful not to get on the grass because there is a little patch of grass on the right there. open up the sector, as you can see, full throttle. This left-hander, just try and get on the left-hand side of the track, open up this right-hander. As you turn in, lift off the throttle and get a really late apex to really open up this final corner of this sector. As you can see here, you want that late apex. Then coming into this left-hander, be careful not to lock the brakes, very easy to do. You want a late apex to really open up the corner here. As you see where this barrier sticks out on the left, for the second time, that's where you want to apex. As you can see there, get a late apex and accelerate making good use of all the track that you can. Down this straight here, in this car, if you keep it in fifth, you can maybe get an extra tenth going up this hill. I accidentally shifted into sixth here, but if you shift into fifth, stay in fifth, you will get a bit of extra revs going up that hill and then shift into sixth. For this right-hander, it's important just to not scrub off any speed, making good use of that extra tarmac on the left-hand side to open up the corner. I like to get a late apex, make sure you don't touch the curbing. As you can see there, get a late apex to really get on the right hand side of the track without scrubbing off any speed coming into this left-hander. Now I like to brake in between the 150 meter board and the 100 meter board, about here. Hard braking point here, braking zone, sorry, trailing to the apex, very high curbing, so you can use a little bit but don't use too much because you can actually spin on this curb, it's so high. Then try and open up this right-hander. I wouldn't recommend using this curb because it's very thin and very easy to go on the grass and it just unsettles the car. But get nice and close to it, get close to that exit curbing as well. It's also thin on the exit, so don't use too much of it. Coming into the final corner, having a look for where that yellow barrier starts, the 100 meter board, and you want to brake just after that 100 meter board on the right hand side that we can see there, trailing the brakes, and then I like to coast just a little bit and get on the throttle. A late apex, don't use the inside curbing because it's very high, but then you want to open up that final corner and accelerate out to get a good exit. You can use a little bit of the curbing on the exit, but it is very thin, so be careful you don't run onto the grass. So that was an in-depth track guide. Let me know what you think of that style. It's hard to get everything into it.
So now we've had an in-depth look at the lap. I hope you enjoyed that. Now we're going to have a look at the lap without me talking over it, and you can just watch and see what I do. Keep in mind, this isn't my best lap. This is just to try and show you guys how you can tackle the track. Also keep in mind that the braking boards and curbs you can use will vary depending on the car you're using. So for example, if you're in the BMW or Bentley, you might be able to take more curbing than I can in the McLaren, because the McLaren is so low compared to the other cars. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what track guide you would like next. As always, thanks for watching and see you again next time.